The Chief Justice, Mr. Justice Kwesi NEWSBOARD, has called on the government to commit more resources to the judiciary to facilitate effective justice delivery in the country. He said the judiciary as an institution was facing serious challenges in terms of personnel and infrastructure, leading to many areas, including urban centers, being denied access to justice. Quote, for example, from across Central, there is not a single court up to Amasamai. The same situation is true for Kumasi Central to Obuasi, Justice Yeboah added. The CJ, however, said, quote, nevertheless, we still have to adjust to these constraints and hope the state will apply a bit more resources to provide court infrastructure to support justice delivery. The Chief Justice described the ratio of judges to the population of the country as, quote, not the best. In a population of over 30 million, we have less than 404 judges and magistrates administering justice in a litigious society like Ghana, he said. He said the limited number of judges coupled with the infrastructure deficit made it difficult for people, especially the poor, to have access to justice. The Ghana Refugee Board says adequate provisions were made for the well-being of some 400 registered Liberian refugees of the Budumburam camp before governments moved to evacuate them. The government recently gave the green light for portions of the camp to be demolished. Residents have thus been asked to vacate the area immediately. Some residents said they felt betrayed because they had been given the option of integrating into the Ghanaian society. Executive Secretary of the Ghana Refugees Board, Tete Paddy, said, quote, we have only a little over 400 recognized refugees who are Liberians in the Budumburam camp. We are responsible for these ones, and so we are making arrangements to relocate them to some of our refugee camps. We will assist them as long as they opt to be relocated. For the rest of them, at the end of 2012, the cession clause was invoked, which meant that the Liberians ceased to be refugees. Some of them opted to voluntarily go back, others decided to stay, which meant that they were well and able to cater for themselves. The Ghana Health Service has recorded 6 more deaths in 3 days in its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. These casualties bring the total number of deaths to 1,156. As of September 24th, the country's death toll stood at 1,150. According to GHS on its website, about 3,088 active cases were recorded on all 16 regions as of September 27th. Out of the total active cases, 124 are severe, while 43 are said to be critical. So far, data presented by the Health Service to enable citizens to be aware of current standing indicates that the number of active cases recorded has declined. In its latest update, 140 new cases were recorded, bringing the total confirmed cases to 127,482. As it stands now, the Ghana Health Service has discharged from its health facility some 123,238 individuals who have recovered from the virus. The Greater Accra region remains the largest hotspot for contracting the deadly coronavirus disease. The re-registration of mobile SIM cards across the country is expected to commence later today, Friday, October 1st, 2021. The exercise is expected to last for 6 months, ending on 31st March 2022. According to the government, the registration is aimed at ridding the country's cyberspace of fraudsters, monitor and track down persons who use their phones for criminal activities. SIM card users will require the National Identification Card, also known as Ghana Card, to be able to register their SIM cards. Any SIM which is not registered at the end of this exercise will be blocked. The Vice President, Dr. Brinya, in commenting on the development months earlier, said, quote, "We all have to do that, otherwise we'll lose that SIM card. That will really give us a real identity for all Momo transactions," he added. The move has been criticized by the monetary leader, Haruna Idrisu, who has argued that undertaking a SIM registration exercise will not solve the issue of mobile money fraud as expected by Dr. Brinya. He said the vice president is, quote, "ill-informed, inept, and highly naive with that assumption." Quote, "The solution to the challenges of fraud within the electronic money ecosystem goes beyond SIM registration," he said. AngloGold Ashanti Limited has announced that underground operations at its Obuasi gold mine in Ghana are expected to resume in mid-October. The mining company has suspended underground activities at Obuasi in May following an accident. AngloGold, in a news release issued on Thursday, said for the remainder of this year, underground ore will be used only to replenish the run-of-mine stockpile. Meanwhile, gold production from its underground ore sources is expected to resume in January 2022. Quote, "The safe ramp-up to the full mining rate of 4,000 tons per day is expected to be achieved by the end of the first half of 2022, the release said. AngloGold expects production of 240,000 to 260,000 ounces of gold for 2022 as the mine ramps up production. Beginning October 2, 2021, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust will offer Saturday services to its members and the public from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at some selected branches. These selected branches include the Trust Towers, Airport City, and North Industrial Area, all in Accra. Tema Harbor and Tema Community 2 branches are also part of the selected branches. Meanwhile, members of the scheme in Kumasi are entreated to visit Adum and Asafo branches, whereas the Takoradi branch will also be open for business. Corporate Affairs Manager of SNIT, Ms. Efuad Sarkodie, said that the Saturday operations fall in line with the Trust agenda to build a customer-centric organization by giving its members the convenience they need to do business with SNIT. The Saturday operations would also afford stakeholders who are unable to visit the Trust office on weekdays the opportunity to transact business with us on Saturday at their convenience, she said. She added that the exercise will also enable employers make contribution payments if the 14th day of the month falls on a Saturday in order to avoid penalties. A high-ranking former Malawian MP, Clement Chiwaya, has shot himself dead in an office in Parliament. Mr. Chiwaya, who was a wheelchair user after he contracted polio at the age of 2, served as Deputy Speaker between 2014 and 2019. In a note he left shortly before the shooting, he wrote about the dispute he had with parliamentary officials over the ownership of a specially adapted vehicle. After stepping down as Deputy Speaker, he began a process to allow him to buy the car provided by Parliament that enabled him to drive despite his disability. He paid for the vehicle, but he accused Parliament of failing to transfer ownership. In a statement released after the ex-MP's death, Parliament said that the matter was still in court. Local media are reporting that Mr. Chiwaya entered the office of the Clerk of Parliament on Thursday and shot himself with the clerk watching. In his note, he said he was tired of begging for what belonged to him and said he took his own life for fear of, quote, hurting others. North Korea said it test-fired a new anti-aircraft missile on Thursday, its fourth weapons test in under a month. The latest test comes days after North Korea launched a new hypersonic missile, which is believed to have nuclear capabilities. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said the test, quote, create greater prospects for instability and insecurity. Pyongyang says its weapons are needed for self-defense, accusing the U.S. and South Korea of, quote, double standards. The latest tests are being seen as a clear sign that Pyongyang has no intention on slowing down its weapons development despite strict sanctions. According to the state news outlet KCNA, the new anti-aircraft missile showed, quote, remarkable combat performance and also included, quote, new key technologies. The test came a day after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un extended a conditional olive branch towards the south, saying it wanted to restore a vital communication hotline between them. Australia will reopen its international border from November, giving long-awaited freedoms to vaccinated citizens and their relatives. Since March 2020, Australia has had some of the world's strictest border rules, even banning its own people from leaving the country. The policy has been praised for helping to suppress COVID, but it has also controversially separated families. Quote, it's time to give Australians their lives back, PM Scott Morrison said. Australia has recorded more than 1,300 deaths from COVID-19 and more than 107,000 cases of infection. People will be eligible to travel when their state's vaccination rate hit 80%, Mr. Morrison told a press briefing on Friday. Travel would not immediately be open to foreigners, but the government said it was working, quote, towards welcoming tourists back to our shores. Accra Hearts of Oak have received an official warning from the Confederation of African Football over the poor state of the Accra Stadium pitch in the Champions League game against the Kamsar in September. The Ghana Premier League champions beat the Guinean champions 2-0 at the Accra Sports Stadium to progress to the next stage of the CAF Champions League. But the Home Licensing Committee, which rejected Hearts' request to use the Accra Sports Stadium as their home ground for the upcoming Ghana Premier League season, has taken action against the Phobians after the several complaints were raised about the unimpressive playing surface. The Ethiopians have been slapped with the warning ahead of their next qualifier against Moroccan giant Wydad Casablanca later this month. If they fail to fix the pitch to the required standards, they could be forced to play the match at their second-choice venue, the Cape Coast Stadium. Alfred Duncan will miss Ghana's 2022 World Cup qualifiers against Zimbabwe, City Sports can confirm. The Fiorentina midfielder is currently nursing a hamstring injury, which is expected to keep him out of action throughout the international break. Duncan has spoken to head coach Milovan Rejovic, who excused him from the game, quote, so he can focus on getting ready for the subsequent matches. Duncan's inclusion in Rejovic's first squad since being reappointed Black Stars head coach was one of the biggest stories from the squad announcement. However, it appears that the player's return to national team action will have to wait a bit. He has made 5 appearances for the Italian side this season. After not coming off the bench in his first game and playing 27 minutes in the second league game, Duncan has started the last 4 matches. Popular Ghanaian actor King Abachi Brinya has died. According to his family, he died on Thursday, September 30th, 2021, at the county hospital at Abachi in Kumasi after he was rushed to the facility for treatment. The 82-year-old had been incapacitated for the past 6 years and as such has been out of the Ghanaian movie scene. He left behind 9 children and a wife. During his youthful years, King Abachi Brinya combined acting with working at the Kumasi Cultural Center. He played several roles in both Ghanaian and Nigerian movies. He was the owner of the Hininana Guest House at Boshen and also owned the Kumasi Man Preparatory School at Boshen. Although he was quite weak and was unable to work during his last days, his family says he survived on the revenue they were generating from his guest house and the school. Walt Disney and Scarlett Johansson have settled a legal dispute over the release of the Marvel superhero movie Black Widow. Johansson sued Disney 2 months ago, accusing it of breaching her contract when it offered the movie on its Disney Plus streaming service while it was still showing in cinemas. She said the decision meant that she was deprived of potential earnings. Details of the deal between Disney and Johansson have not been disclosed. Quote, I'm very pleased that we have been able to come to a mutual agreement with Scarlett Johansson regarding Black Widow. Alan Berman, content chairman for Disney Studios, said in a statement. Quote, we appreciate her contribution to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and look forward to working together on a number of upcoming projects, including Disney's Tower of Terror, he added. Johansson also said that she was pleased to have resolved her differences with the entertainment giant and looked forward to further collaboration.